Hey everyone, so this is going to be a bit of a different video because I've never really done anything like this before. Obviously, usually I'm with my mom and I'm not with her today because I just kind of wanted to talk about something that I think I've mentioned it in passing on the channel before, but I've never really spent the time to talk about it. So I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I actually have a couple of diagnoses, neurological disorders. They're not disorders, they're differences. They're neurological differences. Because there's nothing wrong with you, it's just like different from the norm, you know what I mean. I have 3 different diagnoses. Well, I technically have 2 diagnoses because I haven't gotten I haven't gotten an official diagnosis for one of them. I have it, I just don't have the diagnosis yet. So I guess I should just start by telling you my story. So I have been diagnosed with ADHD and Tourette syndrome, and then I also have obsessive compulsive disorder, but haven't gotten a diagnosis for it. But it's pretty obvious that I have it. I would just like to briefly summarize my story and then kind of just explain what each of my diagnoses are. So in kindergarten, I started having the urge to go to the bathroom all the time. And so at first we didn't really know what was going on. I think we thought I had a bladder infection or something like that. But then I started having tics, other tics. Like the eye rolling that I've been doing this whole time, that's one of them. Yeah, so I went to a psychologist and they diagnosed me with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and Tourette syndrome. And if you don't know what Tourette syndrome is, it's a neurological condition that causes ticking. If you don't know what tics are repetitive movements that you can't control, that you do either with your body, like physical ones, or vocal ones. There's 2 different kinds. There's motor tics and vocal tics. Vocal tics are the ones where you say something or do something vocally, and then motor tics are the physical ones that happen with your body. A lot of the stereotypes about it are that it makes you cuss a lot, which that's actually very rare. Coprolalia is the type of Tourette's where you cuss, and I don't have that, personally. And a lot of people think that, everyone who has Tourette's has some sort of tic where they just, blurt out something. And I don't have that either. Most of my tics are motor tics. My only vocal tics are throat clearing and singing. And I'll talk about the singing one more later. So the eye rolling is a big one that I have. And then also head jerking like that sometimes. And then also moving my wrists like that is another one that I do. Not just my wrists, all of my limbs. Also, another one that I have, it's hard to explain it. Basically, I will have to blink back and forth between 2 objects. It's really weird. I don't even know how to describe it, but I don't know if that's from the OCD or the Tourette syndrome. It's hard to differ that. And then, yeah, there's not really any other, big ones that I have. And then my vocal tics, like I said, throat clearing, and then, the singing one I used to do a lot more. It's just when I get a song stuck in my head, I will repetitively sing it. And I can control it to an extent, but, I stop doing it and then I just start singing again. I've learned how to control it more over the years. I used to do it all the time. And it would get on people's nerves. It was very annoying. But I don't really do that much anymore. Yeah, so I mostly have motor tics now. In 4th grade, I was diagnosed. And after that, we kind of understood what I was going through more, because we didn't really understand what was going on before. So after that, I kind of understood myself better too, because all those years, thought I was just like a bad kid because I did these things that I didn't have any control over. I also want to talk about my ADHD. As you can see, this whole time I've been stimming with my body. So I cannot sit still because otherwise, while I'm sitting in a chair, I have to be moving my body somehow. Otherwise, I will not be able to stay in the chair. And before I really knew how to move around while I'm sitting in a chair, when I was little, I could not stay in my chair, and that would get on teachers' nerves, and they would always yell at me saying, "Stay in your chair," and I was like, "I'm sorry." But, yeah. And then also, I get distracted really easily. Easier than I would if I didn't have ADHD. But lately I've been listening to music while I'm working, and that tends to help. And my grades haven't been as good because of that. Because I go to a magnet school where there's a lot of work. So I haven't really learned to, manage my time that well yet. And part of that is because of the ADHD. It's harder to do that than it is for other kids. And then I also have obsessive compulsive disorder too, but I don't have a official diagnosis of it, but it's pretty obvious that I have it because when I was in 7th grade, I would, 7th grade was COVID year, and I would have tantrums because I was worried about death. And the reason for that was because, I was worried that everything was toxic. There were some worries that I thought were toxic that made no sense. Oh, I remember this one time. I had one tiny black speck on my finger, and then I had a meltdown because I thought I was gonna die because I thought it was poison on my finger. So, I'm laughing about it now, but at the time it was really, sad, and I was in a really bad state at that time. And so I started exposure therapy, which is basically where you are having to do the opposite of what your OCD wants you to do, or you have to do something that your OCD is telling you not to do. So my OCD would tell me, don't touch this, don't touch that, and when I would touch something, I would wash my hands constantly. And I think sometimes I, because that was the COVID year where they were saying, sing happy birthday twice to wash your hands for 20 seconds or whatever, but I would go way beyond that. I would sing the ABCs 5 times sometimes, and I would also have to pace back and forth while doing that. And so as you can see, there's sort of a connection between Tourette's and OCD because both of them sometimes involve repetitive movements that you have to do. So they're very related, and so is ADHD too. My hands would get so red and dry because I would wash them so much and for a very long time, to where, my hands were literally, look how they are now. They're a little bit red and dry just from the winter, but back then they were, extremely, extremely red and scaly and dry. And I remember people at school being like, "What is wrong with your hands? That is not normal." Which I get their reaction now, of course they were concerned about me. After I started exposure therapy, they had me touch stuff and not wash my hands, and then I went through that for about, I guess a year, and then that's how I got to where I am now, where yes, occasionally I do have small fears about things, but it doesn't really affect my life nearly as much as it did back then. Oh, another tick I just thought of, forgot to mention. When I did that just now, that was my jaw. Like, I had to lock my jaw. So that's another one that, oh, and then doing that sometimes. I don't have that one as much as I used to. Oh, also, another thing about tics is that a lot of people assume that tics are just completely involuntary, which, when I was little, they were. Like, I had one where I would, like, wink like that, and it was, like, involuntary. I couldn't control it. But they can also be, instead, like, you can control them, it's just kind of hard to, because, like, with the blinking one, for example, I get a sensation in my face, like an uncomfortable sensation that tells me, oh, I need to blink. So I can control it. I can just ignore that sensation and control it, but it's just hard to because you have an uncomfortable sensation. So a lot of people with Tourette's, like, have like the vocal tics, for example, are involuntary, and like they yell out words, in rare cases, cuss words, and they have no control over them. But I really, right now, I don't really have any like that. I just have one, like the wrist one and the neck one. Those are all uncomfortable sensations that I get, that that's my body telling me, oh, I need to do this, or I need to do this, or I need to blink, or something like that. Yeah, so, I wrote a song about being different and how I struggle with all these things that I wanted to share with you guys. So, it's called I'm Different. I wrote it. So, yeah, I'm gonna sing it for you now. Hope you enjoy it.
I went through a phase in 7th grade when I was worried that I might die. Luckily, I've learned how to manage my thoughts, but sometimes one still creeps up on me. Sometimes I wish I could just be a normal kid and not have a different kind of brain that works a different way. I wish I knew how to manage my time, 'cause I get distracted and waste my time listening to music. Sometimes helps when I have trouble focusing, but I still get distracted by all my thoughts. Sometimes I wish I could just be a normal kid and not have a different kind of brain that works a different way. As much as I go through, sometimes I feel like my struggles aren't valid because my symptoms are so mild and they don't interfere with daily life as much as they do for some. So I have to tell myself, just because some people struggle more than me doesn't mean I don't struggle, because I do. Sometimes I wish I could control my thinking and my singing. a different way. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye.